breaking news right now on CBS 2 News at 6 p.m.
A showdown tonight in Portland, Oregon. Riot police are trying to keep dueling protesters apart. One group, Antifa, is counter-protesting a pro-Trump rally held by Patriot Prayers.
Yeah, neither side has a permit to protest in the street, but a lot of the protesters have been in the streets anyway.
More breaking news. This video just in from San Diego. Firefighters are responding to a vegetation fire in Del Cerro, not far from San Diego State University.
Yeah, the flames are burning along eastbound Interstate 8. The fire is putting up a large plume of smoke, which could be seen for miles.
Now a developing story. Activists flood into the streets near downtown L.A. protesting a proposed homeless shelter.
CBS News' Christy Fajardo is live in Koreatown with what's happening. Christy.
Yeah, the protest wrapped up about a half hour ago, and the LAPD reopened this stretch of Wilshire between Vermont and Chateau. Police had closed it down because organizers had expected the protest to draw 10,000 people. It didn't, although hundreds did turn up. Take a look. It is the latest in a series of demonstrations held by the Wilshire Community Coalition. Many protesters don't want a homeless shelter in their neighborhood. Others, though, say they aren't necessarily opposed to the shelter, which is slated for a city-owned parking lot at 682 Vermont, but are upset city leaders, including their representative, Council President Herb Wesson, chose the location without holding hearings. The 65-bed shelter is part of the mayor's $20 million plan to get up to 1,500 homeless off the streets throughout LA in the next 6 months. Wesson has said the site was picked because of the high level of homeless in the area and would only operate for up to 3 years. But protesters are skeptical and say neighbors should have been included in the planning.
They're hiding and they didn't really talk to us, so that's not the right way.
We are talking about $1.3 billion project. This is $1.3 million, and we are ending up making only 65 beds based on this current choice. This makes no sense. We can do a lot better.
We also spoke to a homeless man off camera. He listened to the entire protest and said he was very upset. He feels that the homeless are being unfairly portrayed as dangerous when he says what they really need is help. In the meantime, organizers say they are planning more protests. Back to you.
New developments tonight on the Aliso Fire in Orange County. Fire crews may be getting the upper hand on the flames, but 600 people are still evacuated in the Laguna Beach area. The fire has burned 150 acres and is just 10% contained.
And while the weather is working in their favor, more than 400 firefighters remain on scene tonight.
And officials have canceled school tomorrow for students who attend Top of the World Elementary School.
The fire broke out yesterday in the canyon between Aliso Viejo and Laguna Beach. Evacuations are in place for the Top of the World neighborhood in Laguna Beach. CBS 2's Joy Benedict spoke with people who were told to leave when the fire broke out yesterday.
It's scary. It's very, very scary. But we got out. You know, you're told to get out, you get out.
It was a quick decision by Chantel McConnell and her family to leave everything behind.
And it just hit the ridge here, and the flames were so big, and we said, okay, time to get out.
The Aliso fire started just across the canyon from her backyard Saturday afternoon. She watched as flames got closer. Firefighters seemed to come from everywhere, and the planes swarmed in.
And watching, oh my God, when the big planes came in, the big bombers came in, you can see the pilots' faces. They were so down low, right down here. It's just amazing what these guys do.
Amazement, she realized as she sat here on Sunday at a home to return to.
They're our heroes for sure. They saved our house.
They called this area of Laguna Beach Top of the World. As the homes lined the ridge above Wood Canyons Park, it was the other side by Soka University where the fire started and quickly spread. About 400 firefighters worked all night Saturday and Sunday. As evacuations were lifted, many neighbors came back to see what was left.
It looks like the fire department and the police department did a great job, so stoked. Me and my wife high-fived each other this morning that our house is still here.
But getting containment in this type of brush isn't easy. So as you can see, they came through with a bulldozer first, followed by hand crews and then finally firefighters to lay down the hose.
Yeah, I'm looking at this big trail here that's never been here before, man. It's like a road, but amazing.
This CAL FIRE inmate crew worked all night and cleared almost a mile of brush by hand in very steep terrain.
Up high, it's fairly short and it was easy work. Once we got down deep into the canyons, it was about 15 foot tall.
Thankfully, the weather cooperated, the flames calmed down, and so did nerves. Although far from in the clear, this community is just confident now they are in good hands. Joy Benedict, CBS 2 News.
Looks very hot out there. Turning to weather now, CBS 2 meteorologist Markina Brown here with a look at the conditions for the firefighters on the front lines.
Yeah, guys, thank you. Good evening. The month of June definitely came in on a hot note. Luckily, the weather there is, as they said, as Peter said earlier, it is still cooperating. 69 degrees the current temperature. Winds are out of the southwest at 6, and even the wind gusts are nice and bearable at 6. Relative humidity at 66%. So what we are going to continue to deal with as we progress over the next 24 to 48 hours is an onshore flow. And with that onshore flow, we will talk about an increase in marine layer. And for us, eventually, that will mean cooler temperatures. We'll talk about how low we'll go coming up in just a little bit. Back to you.
All right, Markina, thanks. A developing story in downtown San Diego. A woman has now been taken into custody. Police say an officer accidentally shot himself in the leg while pursuing that suspect allegedly holding a weapon. Investigators are looking into whether it was a pellet gun, and she was arrested in a parking structure near the route of an annual marathon. They say she threw the gun away before she was caught. There was concern because the marathon finish line was nearby. Police have now given the all clear in the area.
And tonight we're learning more about a Palmdale man who was killed climbing Yosemite's El Capitan. Tim Klein was a teacher at Palmdale High School. A former student says he gave so much to so many people. He was recently named Teacher of the Year. Klein and a Colorado resident, Jason Wells, were climbing the Free Blast route yesterday morning when both of them fell. Park rangers got several 911 calls, but by the time the rescuers got to the men, Klein and Wells were dead. Klein is survived by his wife and 2 sons. And a fire at a vacant strip mall left one firefighter hurt while 15 people had to find somewhere else to stay. The fire started overnight at an East Hollywood strip mall. Some apartments in the building next door had fire and water damage.
I looked outside my window. I noticed this red light, and then I realized that that building had been on fire again. I just got my pants and T-shirt and ran out.
This is the second time the strip mall caught fire. Another fire over a year ago destroyed most of it. The Red Cross now helping the 15 people forced out of their homes.
Now to the race for California governor. With just days until the primary, the last-minute campaigning is moving into high gear. CBS 2's Adriana Weingold is live in Westminster to show us what the candidates are saying today. Adriana.
Well, all of the candidates that I spoke with today are confident in their campaigns. Some hot topics on everyone's mind: homelessness, affordable housing, and employment.
Nice to meet you.
In the final days before voters head to the polls, the gubernatorial candidates are making the final push to get more votes. Across the Southland, the candidates made their rounds. Democratic frontrunner Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom stopped in Westminster to speak with people at the Asian Garden Mall.
I think if the next governor doesn't address the issue of affordability on housing, that governor will have failed. If we don't address the homeless issue in a meaningful way, we'll have failed.
Republican John Cox, who polls show is now running number 2 behind Newsom, was also out campaigning. The San Diego area businessman reached out to voters in Chino Hills. The gubernatorial candidate was endorsed by President Trump a couple of weeks ago, and since then has seen a surge in the polls.
I think the polls show that people want change. They don't like the management they have. They don't like the cost of living.
Former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa hit the road on a 3-day Get Out the Vote tour across the state. We caught up with him in Gardena, where he spoke with the congregation at City of Refuge Church. Villaraigosa counting on Angelenos to get out and vote for him.
But make no mistake, I've got a tough race. LA's got to turn out. LA is supporting my candidacy.
Other candidates on Tuesday's ballot include Republican Assemblyman Travis Allen and Democratic candidates State Treasurer John Chung and former State Superintendent of Public Instruction Delane Easton. The candidates hoping that these last few days campaigning will help push the election their way. Back to you.
All right, Adriana, thanks. And you can learn more about the candidates and the issues on our website, cbsla.com. And then on Tuesday, after the polls close, we'll have complete coverage of the results on CBS 2 News at 11.
Coming up, an FBI agent does a flip in a nightclub and then his gun goes off. We'll have the latest on the investigation.
Plus, the governor signs new water restrictions, how they will impact people all across California.
Also tonight, mass casualties in another volcanic eruption, and this one isn't in Hawaii.